Mental illness is much more common than you may think. In our classrooms today, many boys and girls struggle to learn while an undiagnosed and untreated mental illness keeps them from achieving.
Because I know people who do have mental illness, and they're afraid to tell their friends.
This is Dr. Kane. Dr. Kane is a leading researcher and chair of the Department of Psychiatry at Zucker Hillside Hospital.
Mental illness is very common, and we know that it can affect people in adolescence or young adulthood. And the important thing is early recognition and treatment. 1/2 of all lifetime cases of mental illness begin by age 14. The really important things about early intervention is you're dealing with people at a particularly critical stage of their lives. So they're in school, they're forming close relationships, they're developing into adults. And so if they have an illness that interferes with that in any way, that's a real problem. Something that prevents them from learning, something that prevents them from making friends or separating from their family or what have you. And so, you know, we really want to educate the public as to what to look for. And that means peers of students, that means teachers, that means guidance counselors, families. So, you know, we look for things where there's a real change in school performance, where there are problems in social interaction, where someone seems to be becoming more withdrawn or more isolated or sad and feeling depressed, not able to enjoy the usual things.
Mental illnesses affect 1 out of 4 Americans, 1 out of 5 children. Children as young as 14, even younger. It's all about that we want to help people, but it's also recognizing that these are illnesses. So we know that the body, the brain is very complex. The brain is another organ, just like the heart or the kidneys. There are things that can go wrong with it. It's like when your computer breaks down and you can't log on to the internet. There's something wrong with the connectivity.
Parents struggle too, trying to understand what's keeping their children from doing well and making them so unhappy.
When he was in about 5th grade, the house was completely out of control. He was running the house. Everything was topsy-turvy. I thought it was my parenting. I thought it was him. I blamed him. I was angry at him all the time, and took a step back and realized we really have to look at what's really going on here.
Challenging thing that's going on right now is kind of the OCD and the rituals. It's kind of like everywhere I go, I have a different ritual that I have to do, and usually if I'm in the same place, it's usually almost the same exact ritual, like what I have to do.
This is Greg Barber. His son Neil, an all-star lacrosse player at Manhasset High School, had a normal childhood and then was diagnosed with schizophrenia in his sophomore year.
He was becoming less confident. He was, even in lacrosse, all of a sudden, he wasn't going to the goal. He wasn't shooting like he used to be. He wasn't as aggressive.
Greg Barber speaks to parents about the importance of opening up about mental illness and asking for help.
The problem that I see with mental illness is that everybody was, at least in my family, were embarrassed to talk about it.
Opening up to friends, teachers, or doctors can put a family in far better control of the situation.
Mental illness can not only affect the person who's ill, but mental illness can affect the entire family.
1/2 of all lifetime cases of mental illness begin by age 14. Young people today are doing amazing things in schools and their community to break the silence about mental illness. Ashley McDuffie, a high school student with mental illness in her family, teaches 8th grade health students about mental illness and the need for acceptance in upstate New York.
What got me passionate was how closely mental illness involves my family. My grandmother was bipolar schizophrenic, and I have 2 uncles that are bipolar, so it touches me very closely. I wanted to take action. I wanted to make mental illness awareness something that reached schools as well. Hi guys, I'm Ashley McDuffie, and today I'm going to speak to you about mental illness. It's my belief that kids are the most impressionable of all of our society, and when you can impression them that mental illness is not something that they've seen in the media that's portrayed as bad or unpredictable, that it could be something you could live with. Some of our favorite comedians are also affected by mental illness. We have Ben Stiller, and Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey has depression and Ben Stiller bipolar disorder. It's an amazing thing to go into a school and teach them about mental illness and have kids who are middle school kids who are sometimes the most judgmental be so accepting. For our speakers, you are going to pretty much bug them as much as you can. You're going to say your lines right into their ear and you're just not going to stop. You're going to be louder, softer, you're going to keep changing it up so you're as distracting as possible.
In this particular exercise, Ashley has 2 students draw pictures. While they're drawing the pictures, Ashley has other students distract them by speaking in their ear. This shows the students a form of mental illness they may not be aware of.
You gotta get away. If you stay here in this room, they will hurt you. Hurry, you can get out now while they're not looking.
What they were saying was distracting. Now can you imagine if that was someone saying threats in your ear? Can you imagine if it wasn't so funny? That's what someone with mental illness has to endure every day. We need to reach out, we need to understand them and help them as much as we can because they need understanding and they need people to learn about their illnesses as much as they need to learn about it themselves, because once you offer someone acceptance, that is the greatest gift you could ever give them.
Caitlin Carey, a sophomore at Harvard, says her personal experience with OCD when she was young motivated her to start a website in high school for others dealing with similar challenges. Caitlin works in the school's research lab studying the genetics of mental illness.
I have OCD. I've had it since I was 6. It went untreated for 9 years until I was 15. It was pretty severe and it really impacted my life. And then when I finally got diagnosed and got the proper treatment, it allowed me to my mind was so clear, it was like night and day. Once I got diagnosed, I started Out of the Silence because I wanted to connect with other teens my age who also had mental illness and were going through the same things. And there wasn't really support groups in New Jersey. There weren't really a lot of things to connect people my age specifically. So I started Out of the Silence just to kind of connect with teens over the internet who were going through the same thing. And then I decided to apply to Harvard and I ended up getting in. And since then I've been doing psych research into schizophrenia. It's been really rewarding because my uncle actually has schizophrenia and we do a lot of work with familial high risk, which is brothers and sisters of people with serious mental illness. So it's been really rewarding for me to be able to kind of see the research side and see what's actually going on inside someone's brain with mental illness.
Greg Barber shared the story about his son Neil with Manhasset High School coach Bob Rule. Bob Rule took the story to his students, and what happened next was extraordinary.
I ran into a parent at a lacrosse meeting I was at. I asked how his son was doing, who'd been a terrific player for me, and he said that he had been at Pilgrim State for the past 10 years. And I was shocked. I had no idea. I asked what was wrong, and he said he was suffering from schizophrenia.
Meals Wheels is a program that Mr. Rule started.
Neil was a kid here at Manhasset who was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and so we decided to make baked goods and cookies that we brought to him in the hospital, but then he had this great idea that we could do a canned food drive that we could do here like as a dance. Instead of paying to get into a dance, we brought canned food, and he sent that all to homeless people, so that was really great.
Meals Wheels is a program that Manhasset has taken charge of, and students here have been working towards raising and collecting cans for the homeless. The main point of it is to bring awareness towards mental illness.
Well, I know that Neil was a lacrosse player also, and I just think like if someone on my team had this type of illness, I don't really even know what I would say. Obviously it would decrease their athletic ability, and I would probably reach out to them and see what I can do.
It was cool to think a kid who was walking in the same halls as us just a couple years ago, and to make him feel good about himself, to make sure he knows that he's not different from anyone else.
My name is Greg Barber. I'm Neil Barber's father. And I'm here specifically to say thank you to Manhasset for what's happened in the last 6-7 months.
The New York Islanders congratulated Neil's Wheels for their outstanding public service project and invited them to a free skate at Nassau Coliseum.
There is a Neil's Wheels event for awareness for mental illness and also raising food for hungry families around Long Island. The Islanders gave us an arena. As you can see behind me, we got the whole ice skating rink. This is all about outreach and how we can talk to people about mental illness and have people be able to be comfortable about talking about mental illness. The Islanders have been incredible. It's all about outreach and how many people we can reach, we can help more people.
Weber Middle School students in Nassau County have started a lunchtime NAMI Club, a place where students can learn about mental illness, talk openly about their problems, and in addition, organize and fundraise for the Long Island Queens area NAMI Walk.
Our NAMI Club is a lunchtime club that meets every day, and our goal is to spread anti-stigma awareness.
Because I know people who do have mental illness, and they're afraid to tell their friends.
I was diagnosed with ADHD.
Adam was one of my students who was very, very quiet when the club began, but very active.
I learned that a lot of other people like me get diseases like ADHD and others at a really young age, and that there's a really big stigma associated with mental illnesses.
He came to me and he said, you know, I have a mental illness. So we talked about it for a while, and he chose in the beginning to remain silent. About a month later, while we were having our lunch meetings, he just decided to tell the people at his table working on posters, you know, I have a mental illness, this is real. And they received him so warmly. They were inquisitive, they wanted to know what it was like for him, what the meds are like. And Adam is one of our heroes, and there are so many others in the building.
I think the way Adam is being so brave and being able to say this to his friends, I think it's amazing.
I thought I was normal. I didn't know that I actually had it until I was like 12. When they were talking about it, I'm like, I have that?
Mental illness isn't what makes people crazy. What makes people crazy is the fact that people say, you're crazy, you have a mental illness, something is wrong with you.
So the club has been instrumental in helping so many young people put a name on it. It's just a disease like any other. Seek treatment and just be the best they can.
When you see someone like that in your school, if you see someone in the hallway like that, go up to them, introduce yourself. You might know them, you might not. Introduce yourselves, become friends with this person, because that's what they need. They need friends more than anything.
With the participation of young people, events like Long Island Queens NAMI Walk and other walks like it across the country are making a real difference in changing hearts and minds.
The best thing about this event is the more people we can reach, the more people we can help.
It's personal because it comes out around our age, and people are dropping out of college and not getting jobs because of it.
We are so excited because we raised $8,000 all together.
Raising all the money for NAMI is awesome. It makes me feel really good, and I'm sure it makes everyone else feel really good, because we're getting people to know what goes on with people with mental illnesses, and it's like you're trying to break the stigma, and it really feels good because you can get the word out to certain people and to a lot of people, and you know that you've made a difference.
This is an absolutely critical issue in young people developing into adults and being able to lead the lives that they want to lead, being able to enjoy the things that we all take for granted.
I just like to tell people that mental illness affects everybody. It touches everyone's life in some way or another. Whether you suffer from it yourself or a loved one suffers from it, everyone is touched by it. So we need to stop being so ignorant about it and just accept it and learn more about it, because when you do learn, you are accepting for it. And the more you learn, the more you're going to realize that these people are people and that they can lead successful lives just as you can.
It's good to have like a greater awareness for this type of thing and to like treat everyone equally, because I know that if I had a disease like that, I wouldn't want anybody to treat me differently.
Basically, I'm just like everyone else. I'm normal. You know, I like telecommunications and electronics. I'm a gadget freak, and the last thing I would say about myself is that I'm bipolar, OCD, and anxiety. It doesn't really define me about those things. It's just I'm like everyone else. It shouldn't define you.
We have to stop the suffering. We can do better, and this generation, my students, are just the beginning.
I think that I can be an example for people with mental illness, just that you can kind of come from having pretty severe and impactful mental illness and then trying to turn it into something good and then end up, I guess, anywhere you want to be, even at Harvard.
All my life it's been really difficult having ADHD, but my friends here have been really supportive of me, and I really like it.